What time frame should I start trading with? Very, very good question, and one that maybe people don't necessarily know to ask, but I'm gonna ask it for you. And this all is coming from a similar question, but like I said, when you're new and you don't know what you don't know, part of that is just not even knowing what questions you should actually be asking. So I'm gonna rearrange this person's question a little bit, but what was the actual original question? What's the best time frame to use in your opinion? Now that's just a bad question because that assumes that there is some sort of perfect time frame, and there's not. You should not be using a time frame, you should be using multiple time frames. With that being said, you do not want to start using multiple time frames, or else you're going to just literally drive yourself insane because you're going to be so overwhelmed. So we need to first just understand how to use charts, understand how to use a time frame. And then from there, yes, you can move into multiple time frames. So that's where we end back up with my original question. What time frame should I start trading with? Should you start trading with when you're just getting started? Because if you don't quite pick the right one, you're gonna find yourself in some territory that you don't wanna be in. So let's go through a couple of them and start with the ones there where I could see why you would start there, but just not a good idea. The first one being the 1 minute time frame. Very, very popular time frame out there, especially among day traders. And what does that mean? Just as a quick summary, that means that this candle takes 1 minute to form. It means after 1 minute is done, then a new candle starts. And as you're seeing here, this is getting actually pretty jumpy. Wow, I couldn't have timed this better. But point here being is you only have 1 minute. And within the context of being new, just getting started, only giving yourself 1 minute is a great way to shock yourself. Because you're gonna lock up, you're not gonna be able to think quick enough, you just won't, that's too quick. Only having 60 seconds, 1 minute to make decisions, to do an analysis, to put together a trade plan, to make sure that things are as logical as what they first appear to be logical. Now, once you get more experience, believe it or not, you can do all that stuff very, very quickly. But as a beginner, should you start with the 1 minute time frame when you wanna learn how to use time frames? No, you definitely should not. You don't have enough time to think. Well, I cut away, but I just had to go back to the 1 minute time frame. Look at that minute look at this movement over 1 minute. That's exactly what I mean. And like I said, I wish I could say I had drawn this up, and even that. I mean, think about this. Look how crazy this price movement is. Was way up here, now it's all the way down here. Talk about shocking yourself. So right now I'm totally off script because I was not planning to just happen to be at Bitcoin right when the 1 minute went bonkers like that, but exactly what I mean. That thing shot up, then dropped straight back down. As a beginner, if you're trying to learn in that sort of environment, it's just not gonna be productive. All right, now let's get back on script here. So let's now move off of the 1 minute and let's go to another very popular one, and that is the 15 minute time frame. So you have the 1 minute, now we're hopping to the 15 minute. So again, in this situation, the candle right here is going to take 15 minutes to form. I'll say that again. This candle right here is gonna be moving around, taking different shapes for 15 minutes before the next candlestick starts. 15 minutes. And if you can't tell, I was trying to emphasize 15 minutes because that's a long amount of time. I mean, 15 minutes, that's just a lot of time. And as a beginner, yes, you do need time, but you don't want to swing too far to the other end of the spectrum where now you're giving yourself so much time that you almost kind of drift off, you daydream because things are just so slow and kind of boring.
It's sad.
I think it's hideous, boring.
And this isn't good either because you do need to learn to think not super fast, but you want to start to train your brain to get at least, in used to thinking quicker than what it normally does. And the 15 minute is not going to you're just not going to feel any sort of pressure in that regard. Now you don't want too much pressure, hence let's avoid the 1 minute, but you do want to feel some pressure. But at the 15 minute mark, you're not gonna feel really any pressure at all. So we've gotta find that middle ground where we do have enough time to think, we're not gonna be totally overwhelmed, but we also are gonna feel at least a little bit of pressure, but not too much pressure, so that we can train our brains to start to get into the groove that it needs to get in. And that's where the 5 minute time frame is awesome. So let's go down here and click on 5 minute. And now we are looking at the 5 minute, and the 5 minute is that nice middle ground where it creates just such a smooth situation.
It soothes me like I'm a baby.
So looking at the chart, you have 5 minutes before this thing is done completing. So 5 minutes, Not a huge amount of time, true, but it's not a massive short amount of time either where you're not gonna be able to think. So by just learning how to trade on the 5 minute, learn how to analyze, put together trade plans, check your strategies, make sure your rules are being followed, make sure your rules, you can identify them, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I did kind of list off a relatively long list of items there, but when you have 5 minutes to look at things, you can get through all of that and do so in a very effective way. And that's what we want. We want to go about this in the most efficient way as possible. We want to be able to train our brains to think, so we need to feel some pressure, but we don't want to feel too much pressure where we get overwhelmed and our brains just short circuit because we can't process and analyze all the information at the rate that it's given us. And that's where that middle ground of 5 minutes really comes into play. So if it were me, what time frame should you start learning? Should you start with in terms of, establishing a good solid foundation? For the reasons given, I would say the 5 minute time frame is a very, very good one to stay focused on, or to at least start with. And then from there you can start to build, and then you can start to analyze. And when this is all said and done, this is where your journey is going to end. You're going to be able to look at the 1 minute, the 5 minute, and the 50 minute all at once, and be able to analyze them all at once and put together trade plans all at once. I get it as a new person. You're like, that sounds crazy. I can barely understand. I know, but just know that's where it'll end for you. Just stick with it. Keep the axe at the grindstone and keep on hammering away. So if there are any other questions or anything like that, leave those down below. As you saw, this whole video came from a YouTube comment. So I do read comments. I will reply. Sometimes I'll make a video out of it. So by all means, please leave any sort of comments you have. But yes, when it comes to what time frame should you start with, go with the 5 minute. First off, thanks so much for watching the entire video. Real quick, before you go, I want to invite you to a live webinar, web class, training, workshop, online event, whatever you want to call it, but it will be me live revealing to you what I've discovered that has allowed me to transform myself from being an employee to being my own boss, including how I had only one losing day out of 73 days in total. I'm going to cover 3 keys that have helped me unlock profitable consistency within the markets. The first key is super weird, but in a productive type of way. The second key is super awesome because it quite literally is wired into our DNA as humans, making it very easy to use. But in a cruel way, this becomes a pitfall for many traders. I'll explain it all though, including how to avoid the pitfall that it creates for some. And yeah, the third key, when you hear it, sounds way too good to be true, but it's not, and I'll show you how it all works. Then at the end, I open it up for a question and answer session that is, again, totally live. Even if you can't make the live session, please still sign up as it will be recorded, and you can go back and watch the replay that I will send you. Click the image on the screen or click the link down in the description box so you can get the date and time and claim your spot, which I should note is limited due to the fact that this truly is a live event. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, I'll be seeing you soon.